The tension fills the courtroom. The polished wooden floors reflected in the lights above, as if amplifying every anxious heartbeat within its confines. Kody Brown sits in the front, composed, yet with this subtle tremor in the set of his jaw that betrays his calm facade. Flanking him are his wives, Robyn, Christine, Janelle, and Meri, each carrying their own invisible burdens, secrets, and frustrations. The air smells faintly of old books and stale coffee, but there is something more lingering, something ungraspable, a weight pressing down on everyone in this room, each breath heavier than the last. Christine's knuckles are white as she clenches her purse with both hands. Her eyes dart nervously around the courtroom, resting briefly on Kody, then on the spectators, then on the bench. "I never thought it would come to this," she says under her breath. Her voice almost lost amidst the murmur of rustling papers and hushed conversations. Yet she knows the truth of these words. The moment the first witness steps into the witness stand, there is no turning back. This isn't just about legal arguments. It's about long-hidden truths and emotions long bottled up, finally being forced into the open. Robyn sits upright with interlaced fingers in front. Forcing herself to be calm and composed, her eyes communicate the battle there. Worried, angry, and a sense of anticipation that is just not wholly disguised. She knows what she's holding inside her head. Conversations, conflicts, secrets that have silently simmered for years. And if those come to light in this room, nothing will ever be the same again. The judge enters, a commanding presence. The gavel strikes with authority, sending a reverberation through the room. And immediately, all whispers die down. "This court is now in session," he says, his voice weighted to make the room even smaller, more claustrophobic. The weight of this settles on everyone like a heavy blanket. The prosecution opens, measured in tone, clinically presenting the case. The accusations that come out, at first, are nearly polite, nearly distant. But as they start to unravel, the tension in the room tightens like a noose. Emails, texts, and private messages are read aloud, each one chosen with precision to paint a picture of deception, betrayal, and fractured trust. Kody sits quietly, almost unnervingly calm. But beneath the surface, his mind is racing. Every glance from one of his wives feels like a sharp jab. Every whisper of the courtroom audience presses against his composure. He knows this is not just a legal battle. It is a war of hearts, trust, and the fragile veneer of family unity. The first witness is called forward. A neighbor. Someone who has lived on the periphery of the Brown family's life, but has been quietly observing the cracks forming within it. Their testimony begins hesitantly, the voice trembling as they recount overheard conversations, moments of tension, and confessions that were never meant to be public. The courtroom leans in, captivated and tense. Every word lands like a stone in a still pond, sending ripples across the room, touching everyone in different ways. Christine's eyes grow wide as the neighbor relays private disputes she had hoped would stay private. Every word cuts like a blade against her chest. She squeezes her purse tighter, trying to keep a lid on her emotions, but the tears welling up in her eyes belie that resolve. Across the room, Janelle goes rigid. She is watching, oh, so closely, measuring and parsing every inflection, every pause. The stakes are higher than anyone could have imagined, and every reaction in this courtroom is telling. Robyn leans forward slightly, her palms sweating against the edge of the table. The neighbor brings up a specific argument she had with Kody several weeks ago. A loud, heated confrontation about something minutely small, but symbolically huge. Robyn's stomach twists at the memory. She knows what really happened in that room, the intensity of emotion. words thrown in anger and despair. But now it is all public, parsed for the world to see. The court reporter types steadily, the rhythmic clacking of the keys, a subtle metronome, to the drama playing out. Kody doesn't move, doesn't flinch, just watches and calculates. His mind falls back to the hundreds of nights he spent diffusing arguments, juggling feelings, trying to keep everyone in line, and obscuring those pieces of himself that might shatter the fragile balance. And he knows now those carefully laid foundations are about to be tested in ways he never foresaw. The prosecution then presents a set of documents, texts and emails between Kody and other parties, showing hidden alliances, secret communications, and decisions made without knowledge of his wives. Each document the prosecutor reads raises the tension in the room. Complexions pale, eyes widen, and one or two spectators gasp softly. Kody's lips press into a thin line. He knows the power of these revelations. They could demolish the public image he has carefully painted over the years. Christine's voice catches, whispering to herself, in a barely audible tone, "It's all coming out now, everything." Across the courtroom, Meri shifts uneasily in her seat. She feels the weight of anticipation, the pressure of knowing that what's about to unfold will alter the dynamics forever. The air itself seems to thicken, as if the room is holding its breath in unison, waiting for the next revelation to drop. A short recess. The first break in testimony is called, but the courtroom seems more tense. Whispers of conversation, eyes darting all over the room, and the wives exchange those subtle glances, heavy with unspoken understanding and fear. Robyn looks straight at Kody, saying something in a quick whisper. He nods once subtly, and for a second, emotion flickers across his face before he composes himself again. Something inside him has shifted, and even he knows it. As the session resumes, the atmosphere has changed. The stakes are almost unbearable now. The next witness is called, a person with closer knowledge of the family. This testimony is going to slash through the well-maintained veneer, revealing emotional fractures, unspoken resentments, and hidden betrayals. Christine swallows hard, biting back her tears. Janelle's eyes narrow, counting up the potential damage. Robyn's hands tremble ever so slightly, a crack in her composure. The witness describes one incident, but it had been talked about in hushed tones for years. Carefully chosen words, accurate and exact, transmitted emotion. It's a confrontation Kody had thought was private, a moment of anger and weakness, which now seems laid bare under the harsh light of scrutiny. Every person in the courtroom is affected differently. Some are shocked, some pained, and others, like Kody, who internalize and strategize simultaneously. Finally, the judge calls for the introduction of one last piece of evidence in this session, a series of letters and notes that reveal a secret Kody had kept even from his closest wives. The room goes still, the weight of anticipation almost unbearable. The letters are read aloud, each word carrying the potential to shatter relationships, trust, and the very image of the family that the public has come to know. The courtroom reconvenes, the air thick with anticipation. The revelations from the first session have shaken the room, and family, legal teams, and spectators alike feel the tension run along the floorboards like an electric current. Kody sits quietly, but his hands are white-knuckled in his lap, as if holding on to the fragile thread of control he so ably maintained thus far. Christine gets up next. She stands up slowly, surveying the room, her eyes lingering on Kody for a moment before she looks up at the judge. Her voice is low at the start, almost quivering, but strengthens as she relays moments of betrayal, of emotional neglect, and of hidden conflicts that the public has never seen. "I trusted him," Christine says, her voice tight with emotion. "I really believed our family could survive anything. But there were nights where I realized that loyalty and love alone were not enough to protect us from secrets." The gallery is quiet, the tension wrapping around it like heavy fog. Robyn leans forward, fingers intertwined, her jaw clenched, listening to Christine's words that carry truths she has held within herself, truths that can spark fires in the family that may never be extinguished. The prosecution seizes the moment. They ask Christine about the texts and private messages that were submitted as evidence. With each question, another layer of the family's carefully maintained facade is peeled away. Christine's responses come out measured, but emotional, revealing breaks in Kody's image that the public has never seen. Then comes Robyn's testimony. She rises with deliberate calm, but as she speaks, the words tremble under the weight of years of suppressed emotion. "I tried," she says, voice quivering. "I really tried to make it work. But the lies, the constant manipulation, it took a toll on all of us." Her eyes glisten with unshed tears as she recounts late-night arguments, whispered confessions, and moments of pain hidden from the cameras and public eye. The courtroom shifts. Spectators lean forward, mesmerized by the raw emotion. Others whisper quietly, digesting the weight of what is being revealed. Kody's gaze drops slightly, betraying the tension he feels inside. The words cut deeper than any legal argument his wife could muster, pointing out fractures he has long tried to deny. Janelle takes the stand next. Her words are quieter, but no less powerful. She speaks deliberately, always careful to explain why she was heartbroken over specific moments when she felt unseen and unheard and betrayed. Her testimony paints a picture of a family buckling under years of hidden resentments and unspoken conflicts. Every word is placed with intention, every pause calculated in its emotional truth. Then comes a sudden interruption, an unexpected witness. The courtroom gasps as one. The individual is a close family friend who has over the years been observing the inside operations of the family. Their testimony gives a new dimension, showing a betrayal that no member of the family expects to come before the public. The witness recounts a specific incident, one that had always been whispered about but never confirmed. His voice carries the weight of sorrow, fear, and quiet outrage. The words strike like thunder, a hidden alliance, a secret plan, a moment where trust fractured beyond repair. Eyes widen across the room. Kody's face tightens, his calm demeanor threatening to crack. Christine's hands shake slightly as she grips the edge of the table. Robyn's lips press into a thin line, while her mind races with the implications. Janelle swallows hard, wordlessly bracing herself for the fallout. The courtroom is electric, charged with suspense and emotion. Every heartbeat amplified in the tense silence. The defense rises to cross-examine. Their questions are sharp, probing, and carefully designed to highlight inconsistencies and challenge the witness's credibility. But with every answer, the room feels tighter, the tension more unbearable. Even Kody's experienced lawyer knows that the battle being fought here isn't just legal. It's emotional, deeply personal, and profoundly destabilizing. Meri had been quiet until now. She shifts in her seat. A flash in the eyes shows a mix of fear and anticipation. She knows full well the next moments could redefine the dynamic of the entire courtroom. By the time the witness is done, the room holds its collective breath. Then, out of nowhere, the witness brings in a letter, a document none of this family expected to ever see. The words on the page are methodically selected, but devastating. It suggests an inside betrayal, personal to such a degree that the room just about goes into stunned silence. Even Kody falters for a moment, blinking rapidly as if trying to process the implications. The gallery is frozen, with spectators leaning forward in anticipation, feeling history being rewritten before them. Christine's face tightens as she reads the letter. Robyn's hands shake slightly. Janelle's jaw sets. And Meri? Her hand comes to her mouth, trembling, speechless. Each wife reacts differently. The result is the same. The fragile trust, the image of their family they were so careful to build, begins to crack. Kody clears his throat, trying to regain composure, but his voice quavers ever so slightly, belying a maelstrom of thoughts and fears racing through his head. This moment could very well tear asunder years of relationships, loyalty, and emotional investment. The judge does not even bat an eyelid. The tension in the room is palpable, almost suffocating. The prosecution asks more and more revealing questions about the meaning of the letter. Every question was as if one strike against a dam holding back an emotional flood. Every answer threatened to let a flood of hidden truths burst forth. Christine wells up with tears, remembering moments that match what the letter reveals. Robyn's calm begins to crack. Janelle's silent calculation turns into visible anxiety. The emotional intensity is almost insupportable. It draws every spectator and viewer into the unfolding drama. The court takes a pause while Kody is given a chance to respond. His voice is modulated, placid on the surface, with tension and uncertainty layered underneath. He defends his actions, his decisions, and his intentions. Yet, notwithstanding the defense, the implication of what this witness has brought to light hangs in the air, like smoke, impossible to disregard, impossible to clear. The session was finished, with the judge calling a short recess. As the court began to clear out a little, the energy did not dissipate. Whispers filled the room. Faces were pale, eyes darting from one to another in attempts at gauging reactions, anticipating what might be done next, and understanding the full scope of the revelation that had just transpired. The courtroom, after the short recess, reconvenes, yet it is dramatically different. The air is thick, almost unbearably so, with anticipation. The first few testimonies from the first witnesses have already managed to shake the family to its core, and everyone feels the tension like it is a living entity pressing down on their shoulders. Kody sits up front, maintaining his cool composure, but a flash of uneasiness passes through his eyes, one that only the wives seem to notice. Christine gets up and continues testifying. Her hands shake a little as she holds onto the edge of the witness stand. She takes a deep breath, and the courtroom hushes, hanging on her every word. There were nights, she says in a low, emotionally packed voice, that I was utterly invisible. The fights, the secrets, I shouldered it all by myself. And the thing is, it wasn't just me who felt the pain. It was all of us. The gallery leans forward, entranced. Robyn sits rigidly, her eyes welling with tears as Christine recounts moments she had never firsthand witnessed. Each word cuts into the silent tension like a knife. There's a slight quiver in Christine's voice, which speaks volumes of frustration, anger, and sadness built up through the years, and that finally cry out for acknowledgement. The prosecution presses on, asking about the hidden texts and private conversations Christine had hinted at earlier. Each question peels away another layer of secrecy, another hidden fracture within the family structure. Christine's answers are deliberate but emotional, showing a web of conflicts, manipulations, and private battles that Kody has long tried to manage behind closed doors. It is followed by the testimony of Robyn, which is much quieter, but no less potent. She talked about emotional neglect, silent resentments, and those instances when the breaking of trust could not be articulated with words alone. "I tried to stay strong," she says, shakily. "But the lies, they buried themselves so deeply that I sometimes wondered if I'd ever see the truth." Her eyes glisten as she recalls the sleepless nights, the whispered arguments, and the emotional isolation she endured, despite sharing the same household. Janelle sits silently, leaning forward as Robyn speaks. Her lips are pressed tightly together. Her hands fidget with a pen. She knows the weight of Robyn's words. They hint at betrayals that go far deeper than most people realize. And though Janelle has kept her own secrets carefully guarded, hearing them laid bare brings her internal conflicts to the surface. The defense rises for cross-examination, trying to downplay the weight of the testimonies. But the questions, instead of easing the tension, act as a magnifying glass, bringing every inconsistency into sharp view, every moment of hidden truth. Kody's cool begins to falter as the relentless scrutiny bears down upon him. He clears his throat, choosing his words with care. His eyes betray the internal chaos behind his attempt at control of the narrative. Meri, who has kept a low profile, finally speaks. Her voice is small, yet quivering from mixed emotions of fear and desperation. She remembers moments of manipulation and personal hurt that others may have never recognized. "I wanted to believe in the family," she says, "but some truths, some betrayals, they were too deep to ignore." The courtroom feels the weight of her confession. The intensity is even more driven home by the raw emotion in her eyes. The next witness is a former family friend, a person who has viewed the dynamics from the outside, but has been inside long enough to know the inner goings-on. They testify about an incident that has never publicly been revealed, an argument, a hidden betrayal, a secret plan that even Kody himself may not have realized would surface. Their voice shakes as they speak, adding a layer of suspense to the already charged atmosphere. Kody fidgets in his seat. His fingers lightly drum against the table, a subtle hint at the anxiety rising inside him. Every word that the witness utters acts like a punch to the well-built image he has struggled to keep. Every revelation, a crack in the facade he so desperately sought to uphold throughout the years. Christine listens to the testimony and feels her vindication and heartbreak well up. She had carried these truths in solitude for so long, and now they were finally being acknowledged, examined, and substantiated. But at what cost? Robyn's jaw clenches, Janelle's hands shake, and Meri's eyes dart nervously around to everyone in the room. The tension in the room is electric, palpable. The witness produces the bombshell, a series of letters between Kody and some third party with an insinuation of a secret that could completely destabilize the family. The letters insinuate secret alliances, decisions made in private without the wife's knowledge, events linked in a way no one could have foreseen. Gasps ripple across the room, faces go white, and even Kody's lawyer leans forward, recognizing the severity of the situation. Christine's eyes well up with tears as her hands slightly shake, while the implications set in. Robyn clenches her fists, trying to keep her emotions inside, but her quivering hand tells otherwise. Janelle sits rigid, jaw clenched, silently calculating all the consequences. Meri covers her mouth, trying to stifle a gasp, while her wide eyes give away her surprise. The prosecution presses on, asking for clarity, trying to put together the story hidden between letters and messages. Every word uttered, every pause, every glance across the room adds fuel to the fire of suspense and emotional intensity. The courtroom is alive, a pressure cooker filled with emotions, secrets, and revelations. Kody finally speaks, trying to explain, justify, and defend himself. His voice is steady, but layered with tension as he measures each word. Yet the weight of the revelations weighs down on him, making it almost impossible to maintain composure. For the first time in years, he realizes that some truths cannot be managed, manipulated, or contained. They explode and leave devastation along their paths. The session is about to adjourn, but the tension does not break. The judge calls for a short recess, and the room slowly empties, but the whispers, glances, and fearful looks do not fade. The family sits in near silence, each member processing the emotional storm unleashed in the courtroom. The spectators themselves also seem stuck in its aftershock, caught between curiosity and empathy. The courtroom comes to order after the brief break, but the atmosphere in the room is decidedly different. The first 3 sessions have shaken the room to its core. Kody sits at the front, attempting to exude confidence, but his eyes flash a glimmer of panic. Robyn, Christine, Janelle, and Meri all bear their different emotional burdens, visibly strained by the revelations that have been unfolding. The judge then calls the next witness, a former assistant who has been privy to family dealings and intimate decisions for years. The assistant rises, their hands shaking slightly as they grip the stand. Every step echoes in the polished courtroom, drawing the attention of every spectator. "I have never spoken publicly about this," they begin, voice low and trembling, "but I cannot stay silent any longer." The assistant relates scenes of manipulation, clandestine meetings, and conversations that no wife was aware of. Their testimony underlines decisions Kody made behind closed doors, some of which were meant to protect the family, others that inadvertently caused deep fractures. With each revelation, tension ripples through the room. Christine's hands shake as she leans forward, taking in the weight of what was said. Robyn shuts her eyes for a moment, swallowing hard, trying not to break down. Janelle fidgets in her seat, clenching her jaw in a show of tension. Meri, quiet until this very moment, places her hand over her mouth in utter shock. All the subtle actions paint a picture of a family on the brink. The assistant begins pulling out documents, emails, letters, and phone records that no one had ever publicly spoken about. Each revealed piece of evidence spoke of betrayals, backroom communications, and hidden alliances that further muddled Kody's well-kept image. The courtroom gasped at the reading of the documents, some of their contents calling into question everything the wives knew. The prosecution seizes the moment and painstakingly works through each piece of evidence with the assistant. The tension builds with every question, the drama increasing with every answer. The audience is sitting on the edge of the cliff, waiting for the next revelation to fall. Kody's calm exterior cracks ever so slightly, his lips set in a thin line, and his hands tap anxiously on the table. He knows the weight of these revelations. This isn't just a legal challenge. It's a public unmasking of a family dynamic he has carefully constructed for decades. Christine is next, with her emotional reaction to the evidence that has been presented. She remembers how she was betrayed, how conflicts were hidden, or how she often felt manipulated, overlooked, and silenced. Her voice breaks with emotion, but she pushes forward, determined to tell her story. Robyn's eyes quietly begin to leak tears as she recalls nights of emotional isolation, and Janelle's stoic composure begins to crack from the intensity. Meri's hands shake as she clutches the chair's edge. The voice breaks impression. The prosecution then calls a surprise witness, a distant family friend who has observed the Browns over the years. The new witness brings new insights, describing private conversations and moments of friction that none of the wives had ever shared in public. Their testimony is emotional, raw, and profoundly revealing, exposing conflicts, hidden loyalties, and betrayals that have laid buried for years. The friend tells about one incident in particular, an argument between Kody and one of the wives that had been completely hidden from the world. Their testimony dramatically painted the picture of manipulation, emotional strain, and ripple effects within each wife. Christine's hands quiver as she listens. Robyn swallows hard, and Janelle's eyes go wide with incredulity. Even the onlookers bend forward, mesmerized by the emotional intensity. And then, it would seem, comes the bombshell of the session. The witness produces a sealed letter, an admission, a confession, and a betrayal all in one. The courtroom falls silent. The judge opens the letter with slow deliberation, reading from its contents in measured gravitas. The room is filled with gasps as the words reveal a secret Kody had believed would never see the light of day. A secret that has the power to completely upend the family structure. Kody's face tightens, his composure hanging by a thread. Robyn's tears flow freely now, her voice trembling as she mutters under her breath. Christine's eyes glisten with a mixture of anger and disbelief. Janelle leans forward, tense, while Meri looks like she might collapse from the weight of the revelation. The energy is nearly unbearable in the room, each breath heavy with anticipation. The defense tries to answer, but the impact of the letter has already taken hold. Every question, every argument, every word from now on is overshadowed by the weight of this explosive revelation. Kody realizes that no explanation can be given, no defense mounted, that can contain the fallout of what has just been exposed. The session is about to conclude, but the tension doesn't break. The last witness of the day gets up, an insider who for years has silently witnessed the family's dynamics. Their testimony is deliberate, emotional, and shocking. They expose what years of hidden decisions, emotional neglect, and secret manipulations have brought into being. The courtroom is enthralled. Even the judge seems to be taken aback for a moment. Christine, Robyn, Janelle, and Meri sit together, apart, their minds all working through revelations in their own manner. The weight of truth presses upon them. Kody's composure breaks a little as he realizes the image that he has worked so hard to present is unraveling before his very eyes. The tension is almost unbearable in the courtroom, as all take their seats again after the shocking revelations of the previous session. The air in the courtroom is heavy with anticipation, and it feels like every heartbeat is magnified. Kody sits erect, trying to appear composed, but the clench of his jaw and the slight quiver of his hands suggest a maelstrom occurring beneath his calm exterior. His wives, Robyn, Christine, Janelle, and Meri, all sat flanking him, each working through the emotional angst a bit differently, yet each feeling the full weight of it. The judge calls the next witness, a man who has known the family for years but has never testified in public. The room falls silent as the witness rises, his hands shaking slightly as he makes his way to the stand. His mere presence demands attention. All know instinctively that what they are about to hear might redefine everything. "I've watched this family from the inside," the witness begins, voice low but firm. "And I can no longer stay silent. There are things, truths, that Kody and even some of the wives may not have realized would come to light today." Christine leans forward slightly, narrowing her eyes as if bracing herself for what's coming. Robyn's hands are clasped tight, the knuckles white, and Janelle bites her lip to keep her emotions at bay. Meri's eyes are wide with fear and anticipation. The tension in the room is nearly palpable. The witness describes moments of betrayal, behind-my-back decisions, and years of emotional manipulation. Through their testimony, they expose the fractures in the family that no one in the public eye has ever seen. Silent battles, backroom fights, and alliances forged behind closed doors. Every word cuts like a hammer to the delicate structure of trust Kody has struggled to build. The prosecution leads the witness through specific incidents, asking pointed questions about private messages, secret meetings, and hidden conversations. Precise answers are given, but the emotion with which the answers are given is raw and unmistakable. The audience can feel the intensity, the weight of decades of suppressed emotion being laid bare before them. Christine's voice shakes as she replies to one particularly damning piece of evidence. "I did trust him," she says so softly, "but I also trusted our family would protect each other. I didn't know the truth would hurt this much." Robyn swallows hard, with tears filling her eyes, while Janelle's jaw tightens into silent frustration. Meri, who had remained somewhat composed during most of the trial, lets out an unsteady breath, her hands shaking in her lap. And then the witness pulls out a carefully folded and sealed document that no one has ever seen in court. The envelope is opened gradually. Every movement is slow and deliberate, as though the tension could break the fragile atmosphere of the courtroom alone. The document contains all three: a confession, an admission, and a betrayal, a thing so personal that it could turn the entire family dynamic on its head. Kody's face tightens, his eyes narrow as he reads the contents. For the first time, his well-maintained cool begins to slip. He squirms uncomfortably in his seat, his fingers drumming on the table anxiously. The words in the document reveal a secret that no wife had expected, a betrayal going right to the very core of trust within the family. Christine gasps softly, covering her mouth with her hand. Robyn lets a silent tear fall down her cheek, while Janelle leans forward, eyes wide in disbelief. Meri's face pales as the weight of the revelation sinks in. The courtroom is dead silent. Every single spectator is enthralled, and every heartbeat is synchronized with the tension in the room. The prosecution pushes further to have the witness explain what this document means. Each explanation is another onion layer of suspense and emotional charge, as the ripple effects of the betrayal across the family are slowly revealed. Kody tries to answer, his voice measured but strained, in an attempt to explain, justify, and vindicate his actions. But the weight of the truth presses upon him, and even his well-crafted arguments cannot fully contain the fallout. Finally, the last witness of this session is called forward, a person who has been on the outskirts of observing the family and their dynamics, yet holds a keen insight into their private conflicts. Their testimony is presented in a deliberate manner, rife with emotion, and deeply revealing. They recall moments of manipulation, emotional strain, and secret decisions that have quietly formed the family's relationships for years. Christine wells up with tears. Robyn clenches her fist. Janelle has a tight-lipped resolve, but all show the weight of emotion upon them. Kody's composure was visibly strained, as this testimony exposes more than legal truths. It exposes the emotional core of the family, the fractures, the hidden resentments, and the moments of betrayal that had long been buried. As the session nears its end, the judge calls for a short recess. However, the tension does not dissipate. Hushed whispers fill the room, eyes dart between the wives and Kody, and the weight of anticipation lingers, like a storm cloud ready to break. The family sits in near silence, each processing the revelations and realizing that the next sessions will only dig deeper, uncovering truths which might irreparably alter their relationships.